Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Wisdom in the Best Books and Films, where we find bite sized nuggets of truth and use them to become better people. I'm Jake Bear, the host, and this week we are going to be learning from Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. Now, there are actually several BBC miniseries that have been done on Charles Dickens novels, and many of them I had read several Charles Dickens novels and we were looking for something to watch, but I had not read Little Dorrit. And so sometimes I'm going to talk about the miniseries as well as the novel. The miniseries of Little Dorrit is a fantastic show. It's got 8 episodes, I think. I want to say it's from the early 2000s, maybe 2007, 2008, the one that we watched. It has the actor that plays Mr. Darcy in the Keira Knightley movie of Pride and Prejudice. He was not a great Mr. Darcy, but he is a really fantastic Arthur Clennam in the Little Dorrit show. So if you want a great show to watch, I recommend Little Dorrit highly. I recommend you watch it before you read the book because the book is really long. I have read the book, and the book is fantastic, but it is quite a bit longer than the show, so, it's more of a commitment. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some stuff that's specifically in the novel that is about one of the side stories. So I'm going to, spoiler alert right now, the spoiler is coming for a side story that is kind of in the movie show, but they don't actually do, it's the one thing in the show that I think they don't do well. And so I figure more of you will go watch the show than there are that will go read the book. The show does not have the same payoff that the book does on this particular side story, which is a side story of Tattycoram and Mr. Meagles. But I am going to be reading a quote from pretty near the end of the book, and so it won't spoil anything except that side story with Tattycoram. If you want to, go watch the show first and come and listen to this or whatever, but I just love this part of the book, and I thought it was a shame they couldn't include it in the story, but I also understand you got to edit things out of a book when you have a book that takes, 50 or 60 hours to read the whole thing or something. I think it's actually on audiobook. When I listened to it, it was something like 40 hours. I can't remember. Anyways, as usual, if you enjoy the show, please leave a review wherever you listen, give us 5-star rating, and share the show with friends. Subscribe on Substack if you're not subscribed already. And with that, here is Steady Loving Patience. Many years ago, my sister made some choices that pulled her away from the family. She got involved with a boyfriend who treated her poorly and gradually estranged her from us, to the point that she moved far away and our contact became infrequent at best. We all tried our own ways to let her know that she was loved and always welcome back. I had one brief conversation with her right before she left. I probably didn't handle it perfectly. I'm sure it was somewhat bumbling, but I told her that she was a beloved daughter of God and that she deserved to be treated like a princess. Over the next few months, she began to see the reality of her situation. She found a nugget of truth in that imperfect conversation, and she made the hard decision to leave that relationship and return to her family. That took real courage. Today, she has been happily married for over 15 years to a good man who truly cherishes her. She's restored her relationships with her siblings, and we're deeply blessed by the family bond we have with her again. I was reminded of her story when reading one of the more hopeful redemption stories in Charles Dickens' Little Dorrit, the journey of Tattycoram and the Meagles family. Tattycoram, an orphan hardened by neglect and institutional life, arrives in the Meagles household full of natural wariness toward adults. Mr. Meagles approaches her with genuine affection and steady guidance. Yet to Tattycoram, his requests, small tasks, instructions, even the very nickname Tattycoram, feel like fresh control, echoes of the exploitation she has always feared. Dickens masterfully shows us the world through her jaded eyes. Acts of care are twisted into manipulation by the lens of a past trauma. This mistrust deepens through Miss Wade, a bitter, self-proclaimed, selfless guardian whose own cynicism mirrors and amplifies Tattycorum's wounds. Miss Wade is genuinely manipulative, so Tattycorum's caution makes sense, yet it is tragically misdirected at the Meagleses. Seduced by a false sense of kinship, Tattycorum leaves with Miss Wade, trading one form of unhappiness for another. The novel's beauty lies in the slow, hard-won resolution. After time apart, marked by infrequent contact with the Meagleses and prolonged misery alongside Miss Wade, Tattycorum begins to see clearly. She recognizes that Mr. Meagles' intentions were never selfish, that his sometimes awkward, bumbling guidance was an imperfect but sincere bridge toward trust and independence. Her return is not blind submission, but a conscious choice, trusting demonstrated love over the suspicions shaped by her past. Here's a powerful moment from their reunion late in the story, in the Marshalsea prison. Quote, "Dear master, dear mistress, take me back again, and give me back the old dear name. Oh, I have been so wretched," cries Tattycorum, weeping much more. "Always so unhappy, always so repentant. I used to think when I got into that state that people were all against me because of my first beginning, and the kinder they were to me, the worse fault I found in them, and my beautiful young mistress not so happy as she ought to have been, and I gone away from her. I have had Miss Wade before me all this time, as if it were my own self grown ripe, turning everything the wrong way." Mr. Meagles said gently, "Tattycorum, come to me a moment, my good girl. You see that young lady," he's referring to Amy Dorrit, "who was here just now? That little, quiet, fragile figure passing along there, Tatty? Look. The people stand out of her way to let her go by. The men, see the poor shabby fellows, pull off their hats to her quite politely. And now she glides in that doorway. You see her, Tattycorum?" "Yes, sir." "I have heard tell, Tatty, that she was once regularly called the child of this place." That's the Marshalsea prison where they're at right now. "She was born here, and lived here many years. I can't breathe here. A doleful place to be born and bred in, Tattycorum." "Yes, indeed, sir." "If she had constantly thought of herself, and settled with herself that everybody visited this place upon her, turned it against her, and cast it at her, she would have led an irritable and probably an useless existence. Yet I have heard tell, Tattycorum, that her young life has been one of active resignation, goodness, and noble service. Shall I tell you what I consider those eyes of hers that were here just now have always looked at to get that expression?" "Yes, if you please, sir." "Duty, Tattycorum. Begin it early, and do it well. There is no antecedent to it, in any origin or station, that will tell against us with the Almighty, or with ourselves." End quote. They reunite joyfully, and through this, Dickens contrasts Tattycorum's path with Amy Dorrit's quiet, resilient goodness under often far harsher circumstances. The moral of this story carries hope. Love and patience, even when imperfectly expressed, can reach hearts scarred by neglect. Mr. Meagles is no saint. He can be paternalistic and clumsy, but his consistent kindness ultimately redeems. Dickens reminds us that steady moral goodness can heal, guide, and reconcile, even when the world, or our own wounds, tempts us to misread good intentions. Tattycorum's journey, like my sister's, from suspicion to trust, offers us a quiet but powerful lesson. Our efforts at patience and kindness are never wasted. That's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back next week for another short story written by Charles Dickens. Have a wonderful week.